The training hall hummed with quiet anticipation as rows of cadets, scaled, feathered, plated, and cloaked in shimmering hides, waited while the instructor strode to the center and announced a simple but brutal challenge. Build a weapon. Use only what is in this room. The aliens responded with confidence. A Sylvix condensed plasma into a crackling blade. A Talon coaxed a fist-sized seed into a coiled bioform that hardened into a toxin-laced stinger. A Kari tore apart the instructor's bench to fashion a vibrating alloy hammer, each weapon carrying ceremony and identity. Jason McCree sat 3 seats back, elbows on his knees, watching without comment. When the last cadet finished, he rose and, empty-handed, crouched by a regulation chair, yanked a leg free with a dry crack that echoed across the room, and began scraping long, calm pulls against the ceramic floor until the jagged wood was honed into a crude but lethal point. Without theatrics, he hurled the shaft at the reinforced training dummy. It spun, buried itself a 1/4 meter into the dummy's chest with a thunderous thud, and the room fell silent. Laughter died. The instructor tapped a note into his datapad. Humans don't need technology. Anything can be a weapon, and even the Sylvix who'd forged a plasma blade could not pry the splintered shaft free. The chair spear remained embedded through the week like an accusation, changing how cadets moved through the hall. Some averted their eyes, others watched too long. Late that night, security drones recorded Jason carving another piece of wood on his bunk, shaping with a flattened steel cup until the edge met his approval. The footage would be reviewed, and a notice admonishing unauthorized alteration of Academy property quietly appeared in the cadet hub, but no name was attached. Everyone knew who it was for. The dynamic shifted further during a mixed-species team exercise. Jason, paired with the Tiniakai and the Kumari Thern, breezed into a breach-and-clear simulation where shifting walls and competing teams forced improvisation. When Thern was flanked and Yakai cornered, Jason slammed a broken panel like a discus to deflect a stunner closed distance and tagged the opponents out. He hadn't used the training baton because timing, not tool, had mattered. His off-world background, no neural sync tech, only hard lessons from real war, made him an anomaly. Not flashy, not wired, but dangerous in mindset. The instructor marked their team low survival, high disruption value, and Jason, bruised and scanned in medbay for an intercostal strain and a hematoma, accepted gel packs and rest without complaint. He kept carving despite the injury, telling Yakai that shaping something with his hands meant he wasn't helpless. The subtle shift in attitude rippled outward. Cadets who had mocked him grew quieter. The directorate updated his profile and flagged his habit as potential strategic concern. Some admired him warily, others feared what he represented, an instinctive survival divorced from ritual and implants. Mid-semester in the Rixus range, Jason's resolve was tested by real terrain. Paired with Mirai and the Danaki scout Vosh, they raced through cliffs and low-gravity pockets to retrieve a beacon when an unplanned fault line opened, and Jason fell. He hit slopes and rock in stages, pain breaking through only minutes later. His left ankle twisted grotesquely, his wrist throbbed, ribs stung, but he refused to scream. He scavenged a strip of metal and broken rods from a rusted surveillance post to fashion a makeshift brace, cinched cordage tight, and after 10 minutes of brutal, bloody effort began hauling himself up the crevice. Vosh and Mirai descended to pull him free. He reached the ledge an hour later, broken and stubborn, stabilized by a medkit and a temporary numbing agent, diagnosed with a torn ligament, a hairline wrist fracture, and heavy bruising that would keep him off duty for weeks. Recovery was slow and disciplined. Ankle elevated, mobility sessions, parallel bar limps, then a cautious return. When he finally walked back into the training hall, slower and still wrapped, most cadets stopped what they were doing. The instructor glanced at him, but otherwise let him pass to the row of inert dummies. Jason didn't pick up a weapon. The chair spear stayed lodged in the dummy's chest through the semester, a silent, splintered lesson. Weapons and survival were not only about technology or lineage, but about the stubborn, skillful hands and the choices made in the instant when everything else fails.